All right, we'd like to say good evening to everyone and welcome to the Sunday School Review for tomorrow, actually, the 11th of February, the second Sunday in February. Sunday School for the Sunlight Baptist Church. It's good to have you all with us here tonight. Hope you get to review this before Sunday School, before or after, it doesn't matter which one. We're going to just spend a few moments talking about the account of the three Hebrew boys, the book out of the book of Daniel, chapter 3, the encounter of Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel. We're just keying on the thing that leads up to this. It is an interesting account. It's a bizarre account, but an interesting account. So you get to see who these kings are, who these ancient kings, these people, them people were seriously messed up and not people to play around with. We know about the three Hebrew boys, the three Israelite young men getting thrown in the fire. But I'm going to read about the scriptures leading up to that because it's interesting. You see some interesting things in there. In the third chapter, verse 25, you get to see a phrase being used that is only used one time in the Old Testament, a very specific phrase. Talking about a very specific person, a very specific person being visible. A very specific person appears. And now here's the thing. He appears to a very specific person also. We're going to talk about that. The account of Nebuchadnezzar, the king, looking into the fire. The king saw four people in the fire. The king identified the fourth person. But you don't hear or you don't see that anybody else saw. Now the reason for that is in the preceding verses, because this account here is leading up to something, or the context of that leads up to something. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. The lesson is entitled, Worth Risking Our Lives. Is service to the Lord worth risking your physical life over? Obviously, the answer to that is yes, every single time. So what matters if a man gain his life or preserve his life if he lose his connection to the Lord because of disobedience, because of refusing to serve, because one refuses to own up to the Lord. If you reject Jesus, you reject service, direct service. If you reject direct service to the Lord here on earth, he will reject you in heaven. And off into the lake of fire you go. So that risking your life thing, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. When people have set their heart, when they are the children of God and they have set their heart and mind to serve the Lord, risking their mortal life, risking their physical life ain't a big deal. It ain't something that gets discussed. It is a given. It is those people that are not committed to serving the Lord. They're the ones that would be discussing whether or not they're willing to risk their life. That discussion is not for the saved. That discussion is for the lost. All right, let us do the Sunday Christian education model from 2 Timothy 2:15. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needed not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. 2 Timothy 2:15. In the model prayer, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. All right. For the lesson of Daniel and the three Hebrew boys, we look at chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the book of Daniel. Now, this is a long account. These are long verses. But in chapter 2, says it starts off in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherein his spirit was troubled and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans are the top people in charge of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon. The Chaldeans are like the top people in his cabinet. For to show the king his dreams, so they came and stood for the king. And the king said unto them, and this is why I'm saying this. This is something you have to know, because this is something you need to understand about the kings of old. They were not, you did not play with them. King said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then said the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac. They spoke to him in a different language. This is one of the passages in the Bible that's in Syriac, what people refer to as Aramaic. All of the Old Testament, most of the Old Testament is written in Hebrew, which is a very specific dialect of Aramaic. But these passages where it says in Syriac, there are a couple of verses in Daniel that are written in Syriac, that are spoken in Syriac and translated. But here they are. It says, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show you the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, this thing is gone from me. If ye will not make it known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. Oh my God. But if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore, show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. This is what Nebuchadnezzar said. Oh, astrologers and sorcerers and magicians, I have dreamed a dream, and it has disturbed me. It has disturbed my mind. It has disturbed my peace. I want you all to tell me what this dream means. And they answered him, okay, O king, tell us about your dream, and we will give you an interpretation thereof. And the king said, I didn't forgot the dream. Now, You tell me what it was that I dreamed and what it means, or I'm going to have you all cut into little bitty pieces. And your house is burned down. Oh man, this is the way kings operated. That's insane. That's insane. Now, these astrologers and magicians and stuff, these people work, they have devils and demons working with them to tell them this stuff. They have devils and demons giving them, well, the devils and demons ain't ever on your side. They want you to get killed too. So every now and then you get this crazy king that give an order like this. Yeah, it's good to work in the palace until the crazy king come up with something crazy, and well, there is no way you can answer that. There's no way you can know that. There's no way your demon can know that, or your familiar spirit can know that, because devils and stuff are not omnipotent. They don't know everything. They're way more powerful beyond our understanding, but they don't have the ability to know everything. They can't get in the mind. They can't read the minds and hearts of man. That is beyond their ability. Now, they can tell you stuff, but this is the thing. Tell me the dream, or I'm killing everybody. And they answered again and said unto him, Let the king tell his servants a dream, and we will show him the interpreter thereof. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that ye would gain time, because you see the thing is gone from me. He says, You're just stalling. Yes, they are stalling. They can't do that. Their demons and familiar spirits have allowed them to rise up to a great position, a great height in the court of the king. They got the ear of the king. They work for the king. They have great riches and privileges and stuff. Their devils have risen them up high. Devil lifted them up high, gave them lots of power, put them in a position to be slaughtered and cut into pieces. And it ain't just going to be them. It's going to be their families too. That's the evilness of the king. He said, But if ye will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you, for ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation thereof. If you don't tell me what the dream was, then you certainly can't tell me what the interpretation of it was, which is true. Now understand, this isn't just a dream that he had. This was specific information that was given to him by God, the God of heaven, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God gave him a dream because it served God's purpose. Remember, God isn't just the God to the Israelites. God is God over everything and everybody everywhere. God does deal with the Gentiles, both the lost and the saved. He always did. Now, in verse 10, it says, the Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore, there is no king, lord, or ruler that asks such things of any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. It says, O king, there is no one. There is no one that can answer you like that. No one knows that stuff. It's not within human ability. It's not possible. It's impossible. No one can tell you that. Now, it says, they said, and it is a rare thing that the king required. And there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods whom dwelling is not with flesh. See, they believed that there were other gods and deities. And them gods and deities don't deal with people. So the king is just out of luck. He says, and they said, for this cause the king was angry and very furious and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. King told him from the get-go, okay, tell me the interpretation of this dream, or I'm going to have all of you killed, chop all of you killed, chop into little bitty pieces, and your house burned down. Yes, they're going to kill their wives and children also. Kings didn't spare nobody, and he's going to kill all of them. What was that? What was their reward for serving and working with devils and demons? Their reward is they be put to death. Therein lies the thing. No good will come from dealing with devils. Verse 13, and a decree went out forth that the wise men should be slain. And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. And Daniel answered the council with wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. Daniel was sort of educated. He's a Hebrew now. But I guess he worked with or near somebody that was associated with a magician or an astrologer. And like I said, the king just said, okay, them and everybody around him, kill them all. Daniel was one of them. And when the captain of the king's guard came to Daniel, this is when Daniel got to speak about it and let him know, hey, let me go speak to the king. He says, he answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Daniel said, give me a time, I'll figure out the interpretation. It says, then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah and Mishael and Arioch, his companions. Remember them names, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Aziriah, his companions. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those are the three Chaldean names given to them. It says that they should desire mercies would desire mercy of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Daniel and them are going to inquire of the Lord of the dream, so they would not be killed along with everybody else. It says, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in the night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of the God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He changed the time and the season. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. God let him know what dream he sent to Nebuchadnezzar. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said unto him, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said unto him, I have found a man of the captives of the Judah, the ones that we enslaved and brought in from Judah, when we overthrew Judah, when we destroyed the kingdom of Judah, destroyed the city of Babylon, and burned up the temple, tore down the temple to Jehovah. These are some of the ones we brought back. He says, of the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation thereof. Verse 26, the king answered and said unto Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, says, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? David answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king has demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto king. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets and make it known to the king. You reveal its secrets and make it known. This is God who's making this known to Nebuchadnezzar. This is the point. This is the point. This is a point. It's a huge thing. People get down to the 3 Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace. They talk about Daniel in the lion's den, but they forget about what God is doing with the king and the rest of the Gentiles. This also shows you something about them astrologers and stuff. He said, the dream and the vision upon thy head, upon my bed, are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed of what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets makes known to thee what shall come to pass. God gave unto Nebuchadnezzar a vision of the history and the future of the human race. Knowing that no one would be able to let Nebuchadnezzar know what it is except one of his prophets. So Nebuchadnezzar would have to come to an Israelite to get the answer. And you will see what's going to happen as a result of Nebuchadnezzar having to come to Daniel. She says, but as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou should manifest know the thoughts of thy heart. Now, from verse 31 on down to verse 45, it's talking about the dream itself. Talking about the dream itself. Daniel explains to Nebuchadnezzar what God gave him to know. And then Daniel explained what it means. This is given to Nebuchadnezzar to pass through Nebuchadnezzar to the tribes that are in captivity, to the Israelites that are in captivity. Now, Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon. The two kingdoms, the kingdom of Israel was captive by the Assyrians and taken off into captivity. The Babylonians overthrew the Assyrians, and the northern kingdom of Judah. So now all the tribes of Israel are under Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylon. All of them. Those of Judah and of Israel. They're now just the Israelite people, all in captivity in foreign land. The king, the one purpose, the one person that has control over all of them is King Nebuchadnezzar. God has given a message to all his people through King Nebuchadnezzar. God just used him by his sovereignty. He used Nebuchadnezzar to get a specific prophecy throughout to all his people that are in captivity in a foreign land. Because he'll be bringing them out of captivity in due time. But God used Nebuchadnezzar. This is why God used Nebuchadnezzar. This is why King Nebuchadnezzar was given this dream. Now, this vision that he has said, this prophecy is going to be spread to all his people everywhere that he has dominion. So it will be spread to all the Israelite tribes. After Daniel got through giving him the interpretation of his dream, this is what happened. Verse 46. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshiped Daniel and commanded that he should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. Nebuchadnezzar is worshiping Daniel, trying to worship Daniel. So the king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth, it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. So then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief of the governors over all of the wise men of Babylon. Daniel has been put in the same position over Babylon that Joseph was put over Egypt. Just like the Pharaoh put Joseph over Egypt, over everything and everybody in Egypt, so too did Nebuchadnezzar put Daniel over everything and everybody in Babylon. He's over them, but he ain't giving orders. Unlike Joseph. Unlike Joseph, who the Pharaoh said, okay, you're in charge. Whatever you say goes. I'm still the Pharaoh, but I'm not going to interfere. You do whatever it is you're going to do. Nebuchadnezzar ain't that kind of guy. And Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom ain't threatened. What the world ain't about to be threatened like was going to happen during the famine of Egypt. That ain't what's happening. Now, but he did, again, he put him in chief over all the governors, all the leaders, all the rulers, and over the whole province of Babylon, and over all the wise men. So nobody can say anything about and to Daniel anymore. There is King Nebuchadnezzar, he's at the top, and right under him is Daniel. Daniel has been lifted above everybody else. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat at the gate of the king. So Daniel requested that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be elevated with him. And the king said, okay, they can be over everything. See, that serving the Lord and honoring the Lord and obeying the Lord and walking with the Lord, God is the one that lifts up. God is the one that elevates. God is the one that puts down. All right, and this is where we are we get into the bad part. You just saw in chapter 2 where the king, he's unreasonable. He's crazy. Tell me the dream or all of you will die. Yes, O king, we will tell you what the dream means. What did you dream? I forgot what it was that I dreamed. So if you can do anything, tell me what I dreamed and tell me what the dream meant, or you're all going to die. And I'll burn down your house. And listen now, there are wise men, sorcerers and magicians and stuff that worked in the palace with the king for Nebuchadnezzar. Now there's other magicians and stuff all over the land. They ain't got nothing to do with what's going on in the palace. But the command of Nebuchadnezzar was kill them all. Nebuchadnezzar was going to wipe out all the astrologers, and magicians and sorcerers and witches and necromancers. He going to wipe them all out. And you know what the devils and demons would have did? Just went on to the next person. It just went on to the next person. They ain't physical beings. They are spirits. Can't hurt them. All right. Today's lesson. In today's lessons, we're risking our lives. Even being associated. Good here. The magic users and sorcerers and stuff thought they were living the sweet life, working for the king in the palace. One thing goes wrong, the king going to wipe them all out. If God had not intervened, they'd have been all wiped out. And make no mistake, that king would have killed out every single one of them. Every single one of them in Babylon. Now, the unreasonable king. Is it worth risking your life to be with somebody, to work for somebody that's crazy and unstable like that? Here in the United States, there are a bunch of people getting ready to find out that working with former President Trump, bad idea. Bad idea, because it's about to get ugly. And it's about to get ugly in the courts. We're not worried about any fighting and stuff like that. There ain't nothing anybody can do to stop the law. The law, the justice will be served here, one way or the other. One of the things people forget, we have a military. We have a military. People thinking they can just take up arms and start fighting. They're going to, and our military already knows, they already know that them crazy people, the only way to stop them is to shoot them. And our military ain't going to be risking their lives for crazy people. They ain't going to let anybody shoot them. But God willing, the creek don't rise. By the end of the year, because once former President Trump is dealt with, once he is pronounced guilty, and once the cases on him are done, everybody else just going to fall like dominoes. That's what they get for, again, spiritually. The MAGA elected leaders, that the MAGA group, the election denying group, that election fraud group, they are like the magicians and stuff around Nebuchadnezzar. The end for them is sure. All right, but today's lesson, worth risking our lives. Now, this is the thing. Verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was about 60 cubits and the breadth of 6 cubits, and set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent together the princes and governors and captains and judges and treasurers and counselors, the sheriffs and all the rulers of the province, to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar did this. He did this by himself. No one encouraged him to do this. He did this by himself. Watch this now. Then the princes and the governors and the captains and the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province were gathered together unto the dedication of the image of Nebuchadnezzar the king, the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then and Herod cried aloud, To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye shall fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. Nebuchadnezzar just made him a golden image. He's not a god. He's not anything. It's just a golden image. He just piled him a bunch of gold and said, this is a new thing. Here's a pile of gold. It's a golden image. Whenever you hear the music, fall down and worship this pile of gold. It was not a god or anything. It's not a God or anything. Is Nebuchadnezzar in his right mind? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's a nut job. He's a lunatic. Now, if I was them wise men and magicians, after Daniel saved our lives, I'd have been gone, Jack. I would have been gone. Never allow yourself to be bit by the same dog twice. They saw who he was. He's crazy. Yeah, when you see crazy with absolute authority, it's time to be elsewhere. It says, and whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall that same hour be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Anybody not falling down and worshiping this pile of gold when they hear the music shall be thrown into the fiery furnace. Now remember who's in charge. There is Nebuchadnezzar, the lunatic crazy king. Then there is Daniel. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then everybody else. The other rulers and sheriff and judges and all that stuff, they're all under them four Hebrew boys. Men, actually. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, all this music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. Certain of the leaders, those people under Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because they're all under them four. Nebuchadnezzar's the top dog, no question. Then there are these four Hebrews over all of them. These people are the high muckety mucks. They are the high muckety mucks. And they got 3 Hebrew slaves over them. Well, 4. Now they spake and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You got to grovel before the king. Otherwise, the king would have you and your family killed. It's crazy to deal with them, king. It says, thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, all that music, all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whosoever falleth not down and worship, that he should be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. Since they serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. And again, the golden image is not an idol. It's just something Nebuchadnezzar set up and said, fall down and worship it. Nebuchadnezzar is crazy. Verse 13, then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought them these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Well, no, they don't worship your God, you idiot. They worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God that gave you the vision and the prophecy, the God that gave you the understanding through his servant, David, or Daniel. No, nobody pointed to Daniel. Nobody pointed a finger at Daniel. They didn't think that was a good idea. So, yeah, obviously, Daniel is Nebuchadnezzar's favorite. So we ain't going to mess with Daniel, but we'll try for the other three. He said, now, if ye be ready, that at that time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flutes, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? God is dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is crazy, but Nebuchadnezzar has a purpose. God is dealing with him, and God will use him. God will also, just like he's used everybody by his sovereignty, you don't act right and you act foolish enough, God will put you down. He lifts you up, he puts you down. Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. One way or the other, we get delivered. And this is the thing. God can deliver. God does deliver. For some people, God delivers them from trouble by taking them home. God allows some people's time on earth to end. They are removed out of this troublesome world. He takes them home. That is the preferred place. Some people, God just delivers them through trouble on earth because they have other stuff to do on earth. Again, being in heaven is the preferred place, not on earth. It says, but if not, God is able to deliver us. But if not, be it known to thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. And this is where our lesson today starts. But again, this account, these chapters are not about only Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're about Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. Nebuchadnezzar is about to be, and you see the power and the authority that he has. He says, worship this, and everybody under his authority falls down and worships it, or at least pretends to worship it. So they get to live. God is going to use Nebuchadnezzar. God is going to use Nebuchadnezzar. Two outlines: faith's risk and faith's reward. This just goes up to them in the furnace. And then you get to hear something that is mentioned one time in the Old Testament, a phrase, a very specific, something is seen very hang on. Verse 19 through 23. Then was Nebuchadnezzar, they said, God is able to save us, but if he don't, we're delivered one way or the other. He either brings us through the fire or we get to die and go to heaven. Sweet. Which is actually better. Verse 19. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He was now angry with them and probably foaming at the mouth because they were his favorites. He put them over everything and everybody. But they didn't do what he said. And everybody did what he says, or he kills them. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. 17. That's 17. Not 7 times, 17 times. 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. Verse 20, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Okay, this fire, they made it way too hot. They made it way too hot. So regular men were not able to approach. Regular people were not able to get too close to it. They simply could not do it. It took the strongest and mightiest of men. Verse 21, then these men were bound in their coats and their hosens and their hats and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, the king said, make that fire hot. He was upset. And people were just, whatever, do what the king says, or we'll be in the fiery furnace next. Because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flames of the fire slew, killed those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They took them up to the top of the furnace to throw them in, and the men that took them up died. The strongest and mightiest of men died, taking them up. Then these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning furnace. They didn't get thrown in. They accidentally fell in, one way or the other. They weren't thrown in. That's important. They were not thrown in. The people that were supposed to throw them in died before they could throw them in. They fell in. They fell into the bottom safely. Didn't break any bones or anything. They'd been thrown in. They could have been injured. But they weren't thrown in because the people that were sent to throw them in died before they could get them up there to throw them in. They just fell in safely. Now, is there any risk to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? No. No risk. Here's the thing. God is already moving on the situation. God was already moving. God was already at work here. So his obedient servants, the hedge of protection was already around them. They were not at risk. Because once again, God was already at work and moving, and God was doing very specific things with Nebuchadnezzar. This is the thing. Nebuchadnezzar is the focus here. Now, they fell into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Second outline, space reward. That Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are fine. Yeah, we know that. But remember, God has already dealt with Nebuchadnezzar a little bit with the dream and brought Nebuchadnezzar to his knees to where he's mistakenly trying to worship Daniel. That's why none of the other Babylonians and Chaldeans, that's why none of them accused anything about Daniel. It wasn't safe. It wasn't safe. Nobody wanted to be the one to accuse Daniel of anything because Nebuchadnezzar did that worshiping thing with David, and Daniel was his favorite, and they didn't want to risk their lives. They didn't want to risk their lives because Nebuchadnezzar is crazy. Second outline, face rewards. This is what it said. Verse 24, then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto him, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Mark that passage. That term, the Son of God. This is the one and only time that phrase is used in the Old Testament. And it is used by a Gentile. An idol-worshiping Gentile at that. So everybody, everyone, no matter what, knows God when they see God. Everyone knows God, the voice of God, when they hear the voice of God. It's not a voice like any other voice. It is specifically the voice of God. God is not mistakable. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God. This is important. The Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes and governors and captains and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men upon whom the bodies of fire had no power, nor was a hair of their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of the fire had passed on them. And these people were rightly terrified. Now, me, I eat a lot of chicken. Something's going to walk through fire, I'm going to be elsewhere. Verse 28, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, this is important. Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him. This ends the lesson for today. But he said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You would think, and this is the thing now, this account is going to be spread all over Babylon. What happened with the magicians and the prophecy about the span of mankind on earth. And part of that is part of the coming Messiah prophecy also. Through Nebuchadnezzar, this account, because this is news of the kingdom, was spread all over Babylon, where all the children of Israel are. The account of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace will be spread all over Babylon and every other kingdom where the Babylonians are, where there are Israelites. This news will be spread all across the known world that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has visited his people in their captivity that they brought upon themselves. He has visited them in their captivity to preserve them, to strengthen them, to encourage them that no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what hole you think you're in, no matter how bad you think your life is, God is able to deliver you from it. And no matter how high or how powerful people think they are, God can deal with them. He can deal through them. He can make them do what he wants because he is sovereign. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the communion of the Holy Spirit rest and rule and abide with you all henceforth and forever. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Sunday. Good night.